Hi, if you are one of those that have been watching lots of math videos on the web and still struggling in school, you should definitely watch this video. So you're not alone. In fact, most of the students, many that I had worked with, do have the same problem. So watching math videos is not nearly as effective, especially when it's done the wrong way. If you do it right, it can be quite useful and it can enhance your performance. But of course, it's not going to be a 100% solution to all your problems, but at least a significant improvement you would see if you follow a few things that I'm going to recommend. So there is a right way and wrong way of watching these videos. So this is a big problem for many kids, and I had noticed that quite a bit, and that's the reason why I decided I wanted to make this video. So let's look at the next picture. Say this. Tell me what's wrong with this picture. So there's one thing is that's obvious. Of course, the coffee might fall down. I don't mean that. But other than that, there are two things that are wrong with this, assuming that the man is watching the math videos. So there is, first one is kind of obvious, and the second one is not so. So think about it for a second. One, he's distracted. So that's you can be learning math while you're distracted. So you want to really get off of your social network and turn off that Twitter account, whatever else, other YouTube videos that you want to just peek at. Don't do that. Just focus on one thing. And now, no music either. That might sound a little draconian, but cognitive psychologists have found that only certain repetitive tasks and tasks that you know already how to do, you could listen to music and maybe even enhance performance. But it's not going to help you, and it will definitely hurt you when you're dealing with watching math videos. So in fact, even surgeries could be done better, apparently, but that's only when the surgeon doesn't have to interact quite a bit with other people around. In that case, again, the music doesn't help. And there are some studies that say that if you have music that doesn't have words but only instrumental, it might be okay. But that's only if you're dealing with a subject where you're not coming up with anything new, or you're not trying to synthesize information, that you're either trying to remember what you know, trying to synthesize by taking in the new information. In that case, it's okay. But clearly, in a situation of learning math, those are all the things you do. You're trying to take in the information that's coming in, you're trying to figure out how to solve the problem, and you're trying to create something new. And you can't do that if you're distracted. So the second problem with that picture that I showed you, this picture, is that the man has a laptop in his hand, in his lap. And that's, for me, a big no-no. What you should be having in your lap is a notebook or a scratch pad, whatever, and a pencil in other hand, because your hand should be free to do work. So please put your laptop either on a table, or in the worst case, if you still want to sit in your bed and work, put it on the side. So again, math, they say, is learned through fingers. That means when you start writing down on a piece of paper, you organize your thoughts in a sequential manner. You're trying to figure out how to go from step A to step B. You're trying to remember what you learned. And that's not something that will happen if you're just watching and listening, and it's not a subconscious process. So anything you learn by just listening is just going to enter through one ear. You might give you an illusion of learning. You might even understand what's being taught at that point of time. When you have to use it in a situation, it's not going to be there for you. Let's think of this as a quiz. So here, look at this 2 pages that I'm going to show you. I don't know if you can't see it, that's okay, but at least you should recognize that there is quite a bit of detailed notes that is taken. And even let's go to the next one. How about this? This is a notebook from another person, also a lot of detailed notes. So these notebooks, you might be surprised, the first one belongs to Isaac Newton, the supposed father of calculus, and Albert Einstein, who is probably the most famous scientist of the last century. Now, if they felt the need to write down steps in a notebook, what kind of hope do you have if you're trying to just juggle things in your head? Unless it's a really a simple problem, you're not going to be able to do that. So again, I can't reiterate enough. No laptop in your lap, paper and pen in your hand. Here is the thing that might surprise you the most. So a lot of people watch a video from start to finish. In fact, of course, some might just stop and go away. I'm not talking about that. But so most people would, no matter what, even when the person in the video suggests to pause and work on something, just people don't do it. And of course, 90% of the videos don't even have that kind of recommendation. They just teach you how to solve a problem start to end. And that's no good. You're not going to learn much by that. You really want to stop the video often. In fact, the video should be secondary. You're the one driving with a pen and paper. Whatever you have learned so far, think about what you learned and try to work ahead, try to solve the problem. Only at the point when you decide you can't go any further, that's the time to start the video again. So it's really important that you pause the video. In fact, in all my future math videos, I'm going to try to set up points, trying to remind people to do exactly this, because this I see is one of the biggest problems. It's the person is not going to mind. It's not like he's going to get offended if you pause. So please do pause the video often. It will make a big difference in your learning. So at the end of the video, the thing to do would be to recap whatever you learned and try to see if you can do the same problems without the help of the video. So if you can't, rewatch, or if that source is not appropriate for you, maybe you want to go watch another video. But definitely take those few minutes to remember what has been taught and see if you can do that problem quickly, because it's already been done once, so it shouldn't take you too long to do that. So the next point that I want to make is you want to find a few more problems that are very similar in nature and do them, because once you learned how to do it, it's not like it's done. So it's only when you do lots of similar problems do you actually gain a deep understanding, as well as you start seeing the patterns. And maybe you can also correlate it with the other types of techniques. You learn what not to do, not just only what to do, but which situations this technique is not going to work. So you need to do a few problems. And one of the most famous mathematicians, Gauss, when he was in elementary school, apparently his teacher asked him, what's the value of adding numbers from 1 to 100 or something, and he was able to quickly come up with, because by that time he had worked out a formula. He has noticed that it comes to n into n plus 1 by 2, adding the first n natural numbers. And this he recognized by looking at many similar problems and having noticed the pattern. He was able to solve this quickly, and that would only happen if you are working on problems that are of similar nature and trying to look for patterns. So one more thing that's very important is you want to go back and work on a topic that you learned. because no matter how smart you are, how good you are, you're going to forget what you learned. So the only way to increase your long-term retention is to practice multiple times over a period of time. And if you have procrastinated to the last minute, yeah, maybe that's not going to be an option for you. But at least at the minimum, if you're working before the exams, do practice quite a few problems. And it's not only the similar problems. Another thing I can't stress enough is you do need to find one or two difficult problems and work them, because you will start realizing where you lack some understanding, or you don't know how to apply certain thing in the proper way. And just working on difficult problems are going to help you to figure out what doesn't work. So that's pretty important. So instructional videos, mostly they would work on a smaller problem, because the instructor doesn't want to get distracted, going off into um, things that are not directly relevant to that one small thing that is trying to teach you. So there are many reasons why the videos themselves would be slightly diluted. So you do need to find a few difficult problems and work on them. This is not slightly beyond how you should watch the videos, but this comes to speaks to what you should do after having watched a certain video, to make sure that that really is providing value to you, because you already spent time doing that, and there's no use if you can't recollect how to solve it when you need it in exam. And a couple of things I would say, I want to tell you, no matter what, the classes are pretty important. So online videos do skimp rigorous discussion. They will skimp. They won't tell you. Well, some of them do, but always, oh, this function has to be continuous before you can use this technique, or it's differentiable, and this is how you need to check that, because that itself, might take a few minutes to cover that. So these are the kinds of things, and teachers will tell you. And also your class teacher can tell you how something in calculus can apply to physics, or teach you those interrelationships, which helps you truly understand the topic. So none of this will really be a very good substitute for attending class. So don't bunk classes. So do attend the classes. Okay. So another thing is reading textbook. So technical reading is probably the number one skill in college, and you need to make sure that you are comfortable reading technical books that have a language. They might have a symbol for there exists rather than writing it as there exists. They might have a mathematical symbol, and you need to be comfortable with those, because lots of times you're not going to find a video that will help you, or even the pedantic style might be boring for you, but there's no way of getting around it. There's always going to be at least 20% of the situations where you just have to deal with it. So force yourself to read some part of the textbook, even if you can get away with it most of the time. So in summary, so watch without distractions, have a pen and a paper ready for all the time, pause the video often, recap and test yourself, practice similar problems, practice complex problems, read the textbook, pay attention in the class, and if possible, teach someone. That is another good way of learning the material. Thank you. If you like the video, click like, and we'll see you later.